Hello, my name is Brian, and I'm a writer with over 25 books published on Amazon. And welcome to the next video in this series. This is Chapter 14, Diner. Father Kyle tells Philip to get out of the chapel. They agree to meet at the diner to talk, but none of the townsfolk want the preacher there. Philip argues with the locals. I hope you like this latest chapter. Please click subscribe and leave a like for the video. The demons of YouTube are driven back with every subscriber and like. Chapter 14, Diner. The parishioners were all gone by supper time. Philip watched them from the window in his room and breathed a heavy sigh of relief after the last pickup truck drove away. He went to the end of the driveway and moved his Toyota Tercel to the small lot beside the church. Then he went to the kitchen and brooded about what came next. He had been cast adrift here by Father O'Brien and the seminary school. He would have to call them to see what they had to say, but he doubted that anyone from there would be coming to help him any time soon. He needed to try to get some help, and he went to the rectory office and sat at the desk. He picked up the phone and dialed the number for Father Kyle. "Who is this?" a voice barked when it was answered. "This is Brother Philip at St. John's Chapel," he replied. "Philip," Kyle said desperately, "I need to talk to you." "Okay," Philip said with a sigh of relief. "When can you come over?" "No, I won't go there. Never again." "What?" he said with surprise. "Why not?" "Don't ask me that. Not over the phone." Philip frowned and looked at the receiver in his hand as if it were talking crazy and not the man on the other end of the line. "All right," he said with a roll of his eyes. "We could meet somewhere." Kyle gasped and groaned out loud. "I don't know. I have to think about this." "What's to think about, Father? I need some help. Father Jacob is dead and I'm all alone here." "You have to get out of that place." "What place?" "The chapel. You have to leave, now." "I don't understand. What are you saying?" "Just do it. Go back to Toronto if you have to. Go anywhere. Just get away from that place." "Why are you acting so weird?" "Who, me? I'm not acting weird. I'm being perfectly reasonable." "Sure, if you say so," Philip said sarcastically. "Meet me at the diner at the crossroads tomorrow, after 1 o'clock. I don't want to stay on the phone too long." The line went dead and Philip frowned at the receiver once again. He placed it back in its cradle and wondered what was wrong with Father Kyle. He had never heard him acting so strange before. "What's got into him?" he mumbled to himself. The next day, Philip drove to the crossroads where the diner and gas station were. This place was his first introduction to the town of Hunters Creek, and it was not a pleasant memory. This was where he discovered that everyone here was surly, unfriendly, and seemed to make an effort to be as unhelpful as possible. He parked his car inside. He pulled out his phone and powered it on. He wanted to find out if there was still no service. He waited for it to go through its boot up and then watched to see if it could pick up a signal. There was a tap on his window, and he turned to see Mrs. Fitz's son, Michael. He rolled down the window and Michael smirked. "You should have learned by now, Boyle," he scoffed. "Those things don't work around here." "I know," Philip said. "I was just checking." Michael laughed out loud and then sauntered into the diner. Philip sighed heavily and got out of the car. He had to go into the diner too, but he didn't want to follow Michael so closely. He knew he was already the butt of many jokes with the people here. He wondered if going in right away would make that situation worse. He sputtered noisily and walked in a few seconds behind the big local. He realized then that most of the men he had met here were uncommonly large. Big muscular men with permanent scowls painted on their faces, and their eyes absent of any feeling or compassion. "Must be something in the water," he mumbled quietly. He looked around the small place for Father Kyle. With the 2 dozen or so patrons inside, he had to look carefully. He finally had to conclude that the spare elderly priest was not there. He sighed again and checked the clock on the wall. It was not quite 1 o'clock, and the father had asked him to meet him after 1. Both Louise and Patty watched him from behind the counter. They both had scowls on their faces, and Philip shifted with embarrassment. He looked behind him through the glass door, hoping to see Father Kyle, but he was not there. He looked once more around the diner, but he still could not find him. It was then he saw that everyone in the place was eyeing him coldly. He flushed red and turned to walk out. "Look, boyo," Patty shouted. "What is it you want here?" Philip chewed his lip for a moment, wondering if there was any point in telling the big man why he was there. Would they actually be helpful if he told them? Would they even know where the priest was? "I'm supposed to meet Father Kyle here," he said, with no hope of any kind of help. "That son of a bitch," Patty said unpleasantly. He scowled and directed a cold and angry gaze at Philip. "He's not welcome here, Boyle," the big man went on. "And if you bring him in here, you won't be welcome neither." Philip gritted his teeth and gave a curt nod. "Thanks," he said, and then turned and walked out the door. He stepped out to the hard-packed dirt parking lot and looked around. He took a few steps forward, hoping that the father would arrive soon. He looked back and saw Michael and a couple of other very large men watching him with smirks on their faces. "What you want with Father Kyle?" Michael asked. Philip drew his brows down and wondered again whether it would be worth his breath to tell him. "I need advice," he replied. "Now that Father Jacob is dead, I need to ask someone what to do." "And you're going to ask that cowardly bastard?" "Cowardly? What do you mean?" "Were you not listening at all yesterday, boyo? You heard my ma. The demon has Jacob's soul, and Father Kyle refused to try to rescue him. Is that really the kind of man you want to get advice from?" Philip scowled and looked the big man in the eye. "He's the only other priest I know up here. The seminary school sent me here to mentor with Father Jacob. Now that he's dead, I don't know what to do, or who to ask for help." Michael scoffed again and snickered. "You'll not be getting advice from anyone in these parts, Boyle. Best you head on back to the city." "That's what Father Kyle told me to do." "Even assholes get good ideas, it seems. You should go while you still can." Mrs. Fitz appeared from around the corner with another elderly woman. Philip recognized her as the woman who told him that no one works on Sundays. "Michael," Mrs. Fitz barked, "stop bullying the lad. He's as upset as the rest of us about poor Father Jacob. He's likely even more lost than most of us. He has no friends or family here." "That's to be sure," Millie said with a nod. Philip blushed and looked down. Mrs. Fitz shooed away the 3 men and then turned towards him. "Tomorrow is Sunday," she said. "Will you be leading Mass?" "Me? I can't lead Mass. I'm not ordained yet." "Oh, pish," she said with a dismissive wave. "You don't need to be ordained. You just need to have faith." "I'm sure my school would disagree." "Never mind what them fellers say. she said. Milly nodded, and the lady stared at him fiercely. I know Father Jacob would want you to take over for him, Mrs. Fitz said. He knew you could do it. I don't know about that. Listen here, lad. Tomorrow's Sunday, and there's no one else who can lead Mass. No one of us here, anyway. What about Father Kyle? Him. If he gave Mass, no one would listen. They'd all walk out. Why does everyone hate Father Kyle so much? Ask him. If he's honest, the way a priest should be, he'll tell you. She suddenly looked to one side and scowled. Philip turned to see Kyle standing a few feet away. You can ask him right now, she said. Then she walked away with the other woman. They went back around the corner and disappeared. Kyle watched her go with a worried look on his face. Then he stepped forwards and put a hand on Philip's shoulder. Come, lad, let's go and have some coffee. We can't go in there, Philip said. They told me you weren't welcome. Kyle sighed heavily and lowered his head. Here too? The priest groaned aloud and leaned his back against a small tree at the edge of the parking lot. His eyes got very sad, and he squeezed them tightly shut. We should go back to the chapel. No! Kyle exclaimed in fright. His eyes went wide with terror, and his limbs began to shake. He leaned his head back and looked to the sky. Dear Lord, what do I do? He moaned.